Now, before we get started, I have a special treat for you. As a member of the first generation of Trekkies, Star Trek looked like this to me when I was growing up. Each episode had been sent to the local stations in rolls of 16mm color film. When combined with the low resolution of early analog television, the Enterprise appeared very much like what you see here. If you had a VCR in the 1970s, this is what you would have recorded as you made your own tapes of Star Trek. So now that you've been reminded of exactly how poor quality the original TV episodes were in syndication, we can all appreciate the DVD clips that we're going to be looking at all the more. They shot a total of 6 different shots in Where No Man Has Gone Before. Well, actually, they did 7, but there was an additional shot they made but didn't use until well after the series is underway. We'll take a look at that scene later when we review the episode that it debuted in. So the first episode of Season 1 to actually introduce this new footage that they had just filmed was the Corbomite Maneuver. It happened to be the 3rd episode in production. And they actually introduced to us 5 new library shots. Now, the 4th episode that they filmed was Mudd's Women, and in addition to 3 beautiful women, it also gave us 4 beautiful shots, and they would be used in a lot of episodes after this. In fact, these 4 shots from Mudd's Women made the vast majority of appearances of the Enterprise throughout the television series. So how appropriate is it that an episode that contains the word terror in its name would produce a clip that would be used 13 times? So for the Galileo 7, they filmed one additional scene that they needed. It's a small clip that shows the Enterprise at full stop, but this time at an angle and slowly turning to port until it's in complete profile. If you have any videos, photos, or documents that you would like to donate to us, please feel free to send them to jim@trek-world.com or submit them via the web at submit.trek-world.com. So next up is a shot from the Alternative Factor, which was the 20th episode to be filmed. It's a single shot shown from behind the ship. They would only use this one time before they would choose a different rear shot to replace it. So now the 21st episode ever filmed was Tomorrow Is Yesterday, and in that they actually gave us 3 new shots. And now the 22nd episode filmed was Return of the Archons. Once again, they filmed yet another shot at the Enterprise flying by the camera, but in this shot, they don't actually really pass us. Okay, so as we move up to Space Seed, this is perhaps the most complicated shots that were ever filmed for the original series. Okay, the 29th episode film, Operation Annihilate. So they created another flyby shot, but one whose speed is faster than the traditional flyby, but is still slow enough that the ship doesn't just become a blur the way it does in the credits. They only used it one more time in the Tholian Web. But this is the same shot that has the distinction of also appearing years later in a major motion picture. This is the same shot that Shatner sees through the periscope in Airplane 2. So up first for Season 2 is the 31st episode filmed, Metamorphosis, where they created 2 brand new shots needed for the episode. Next up is a fan favorite and definitely a Star Trek heavyweight, filmed 35th Doomsday Machine, needed a whopping total of 49 ship shots, and that is the most shots ever used of Enterprise models in a single episode. For Doomsday Machine, they needed to film shots of the Planet Killer, so they used the opportunity to film 2 new shots of the 11-foot Enterprise as well. Mirror Mirror, the 39th episode filmed. This particular shot was filmed during the making of Where No Man Has Gone Before. As before, this ship was actually filmed using the reverse registry numbers. It was the second of 2 shots filmed during the second pilot that featured those reverse numbers, but neither shot ended up being used in the second pilot. Instead, they were used as stock footage by other episodes during the season. Now next up is the 42nd episode filmed, The Trouble with Tribbles. They needed to create 3 new clips of the Enterprise so that they could composite it optically over the K7 miniature. So for those of you out there that didn't know, Due to the abundance of photograph and film evidence that was recorded for these shots, it was a great choice by the Smithsonian to use the appearance of the 11-foot model in this episode as what was to be used as the baseline for how the Smithsonian would restore the model in 2016. The 44th episode filmed was Journey to Babel, and in that they needed a new phaser firing shot. The result was one of the most iconic photos that we've ever seen, and they used it from here on out when the Enterprise fired phasers. As such, it would be used a total of 15 different episodes. And if the above clip looks even more familiar to our older fans, it is because this screenshot was used on the cover of the Making of Star Trek 46th episode, Gamesters of Triskelion. They needed to have 2 new shots added. Okay, you know you like the video, so do me a favor, hit that like button down there so that YouTube can present it to more people. Now in the 48th episode filmed, The Immunity Syndrome, they ended up needing a total of 17 clips of the Enterprise. All but one came from earlier episodes. The one they needed, well, that was truly a new and remarkable shot, where we actually close in and tight on the lower sensor dome. So the 53rd episode filmed was, of course, The Ultimate Computer. Here we are given a much better shot showing the Enterprise coming straight at us in a flyby. But unlike the others that we've seen earlier, this flyby is level and not slightly angled, and it no longer comes directly at us as the last level flyby shot did. So the 69th production episode is the last episode that used new footage of the Enterprise model. A track in that ends with a close-up of the lower sensor dome on the saucer. While it wasn't used until Season 3, it was obviously filmed in Season 2. Remember that after Season 2 was completed, they put the Enterprise in storage, and it stayed there until well after the series ended. So as we come to the end, let's look at these shots by the numbers. The most Enterprise clips in a single episode? Doomsday Machine, 49 different shots. Most seen Enterprise clip? Orbiting toward us, 113 appearances. Number of the times an Enterprise clip was filmed and only used once? 12. Number of times the cage clips were used later? 44. The number of times where no man has gone before clips were used? 171. The total number of Enterprise shots were 62. The total number of cage Enterprise shots were 7. The total number of where no man has gone before shots were 8. The total number of Enterprise shots in Season 1 were 25. And the total number of Enterprise shots in Season 2 were 22. Remember, there were no shots in Season 3. So this next set of stats is just to please my inner nerd. The number of times the 11-foot model was filmed for the TV series was 43 times. The number of times the 3-foot Enterprise was filmed to appear as the Enterprise in the series, 11 times. The number of times they used an AMT model, 7. And the number of times they used the 3-inch Metal Enterprise,